Bruce or any other elected or public officials present with us here this evening that I might have missed? Okay, thank you. Also present with us this evening, we have Protect the City committee members, Tad Catalon, Tina Sheldon Bingham, Mr. Bill Linebacker, Mr. Stuart Rowe, and Mr. Roddy Bergeron on the back row. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Do you need two introductions?
Yeah.
Do you need a double introduction? Okay. Okay, all right. Just I mean, I aim to please. You know, I aim to please. So we will proceed as follows. First up will be Councilman Lewis to discuss the purpose of the committee and the charge given to the committee. Next, we'll have the presentation of the draft report by Mr. Committee Member Stuart Rowe. We will have, following that, we will have comments and observations. If any of the committee members would like to make any, followed by public comments and a question and answer session from the public. The primary purpose of this meeting is for the committee to receive public comments and observations to assist them in preparing their final report, which will ultimately be presented to the City Council. Without further ado, Councilman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Lazar. As Mr. Lazar stated that I will give a purpose of why this committee started. The purpose is that I decided myself to have a committee to follow and to see what is the advantage of consolidation. And the reason why I decided that, because 5 years ago, when I was elected to be the city councilman back in 2015 to into 2016, the first few years, I was like everyone else. You get into a new position, you know a little bit about it. When I say a little about it, but then there's some hiccups comes across. And one of the hiccups were, why is it city parish, mayor, city parish, president? What is that all about? I'm like just about everybody else. When they first consolidated back in 92, 96, whatever it may be, it was what? Parish president. Then years later, it became mayor president. I was kind of confused as a new elected councilman. So I started doing a little research on my own and talked to a few other constituents that I can rely on. What is the purpose? What is the reason why we have that? Curiosity started coming around me, started thinking what's going on. Then moving forward, that's when a few council members decided on their own to have the home rule charter, which everybody's familiar with that, the home rule charter. And I'm saying to myself, we're going to have a home rule charter. Is that the best interest of Lafayette? Because I'm a city person. I'm for the city of Lafayette. I have nothing against the parish because I have relatives and I have a sister living in the parish. Nothing at all against them. But I found out that really that it should be a problem. It should be, it is. It's a conflict when you have a mayor that represents the parish. He's the parish president. You have, then I started looking into it even further. I live in the city of Lafayette. I have a sister living in the parish. So I asked him one day, I said, do you pay city tax? If you do, where do you pay the city tax? She said, all I do is pay parish tax. I said, wow. Being that I live in the city, I pay what? City taxes for the city, and I pay to the city of Lafayette, and I pay parish taxes, because everyone lives in Lafayette Parish. So this is okay. But what about the other municipality? Remember, there are 6 municipalities Lafayette is one. You have Cameron, Scott, Dusson, Youngsville, and Broussard. That's five, that's big 6 municipalities. If you live in Cameron, you pay city taxes to Cameron, parish tax, I must say, parish tax to Cameron. If you live, and also in Cameron, you pay parish tax. And that's the same thing with all municipalities, okay? But if you live in an unincorporated area, I normally call that an hour. There's people that do not live in a city. They only pay parish tax, no city tax. But they still want the same services that if you live in the city, which is fine, I understand it. So I'm starting to figure out why some people can pay or have to pay parish and city tax. And I kept looking into those burdens where I kept trying to put all this together. Then I realized if you live in these 5 municipalities, even the unincorporated areas, you can vote for the mayor of Lafayette, or let's call it mayor president. You can vote for that person. If you live in the unincorporated areas, or you live in another municipality like Cameron, I don't want to complain about Cameron, but that's the reason why I want you guys to know about Brian. I'm the children. So if you live in Youngsville or Scott, you can vote for the mayor and president of Lafayette, but the people that sit down here, if you're from Lafayette, you cannot vote for their mayor. You cannot vote for their mayor. Again, the Home Rule Charter didn't address that. And I'm not saying that the people, the ones that was involved in it didn't do a good job, but sometimes you cannot think of everything. So I decided I have a committee. I want the people, the everyday taxpayers, make a decision if we should bring it up to a vote. That the people in Lafayette and the people that live in the parish come together and decide what would be the best way to do it. And again, that's just part of the purpose. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because we have a presentation. I want to make sure that they have enough time to do their presentation and then open it up for question and answer. But I just want to say one thing before I complete my little talk for now, but I will be coming back, is that if you live in, I just want to let you know, if you live in the city of Broussard, they have a little over 11,000 people. By roughly 11,400 people in population. And they have a budget of $13,700,000. Remember that, a budget of $13,700,000. That's in Broussard. If you live in Cameron, you have about 8,700 population that people live there. And they have a budget of $15,850,000. That's in Cameron. If you live in the town of Broussard, you have 1,700 people live in Broussard. 1,700 people. With a budget of $2,600,000. That's Broussard. In the city of Lafayette, we have a population of over 126,000 people live in Lafayette. With a budget, I should say, of a little over $4 million. Let's not forget Scott. If you live in Scott, there's 8,700 people with a budget of $11,700,000. Now I'm saying that to let you know, you guys know, because when you're in the parish, you live in these municipalities, or you're in the city of Lafayette, when we come to a vote on something, if it's joint, these residents, taxpayers that live in these areas, the other, municipalities, they have a lot of say-so that goes on in Lafayette. And again, Lafayette has a mayor that's elected by the people that all these municipalities I was telling you guys about. They also even have, all these municipalities even have an elected chief of police. If you live in Lafayette, no, there's no elected chief of police. No elected chief of police. It's appointed. Again, we have the population, we have the money sources, and just about, I'm not saying we need them, we need the parish people to agree with the city people. Now, everybody's here to make a decision. I'm not here to make a decision for you all. I'm just here to tell you what I know is going on. It's more or less facts, and the committee members did their own research as well. We got the administration involved, and now we want you guys to be involved. And you guys let us know if you think that if you live in the city or you live in the parish, because I hear some people in these municipalities saying that, no, y'all should have your own mayor, your own budget, your own allocation, and we have our own. And you guys have your own. It's only fair, but again, it's going to be up to the people to decide, because we're going to try to bring it to the people for a vote. But before we do that, we need the parish people, the constituents that live in the parish, to say, hey, let's bring this to a vote so we can make sure it's equal for everyone. And remember, the committee is not here to hurt or diminish the parish. We're here to make sure everyone get their fair share. That's all we're here for. We want you guys to make a decision that if y'all think that Lafayette should stand on their own and the parish should stand on their own, let's make it happen. And that is the purpose why this committee started, because I felt that the residents, the taxpayers, the city of Lafayette not get their fair share. From here on, I'll be back to talk some more, but I'll leave it to Mr. Stuart Broke to follow up and give his presentation. And there was 14 questions that they had to answer, as well as the administration. 14 questions. And they weren't easy questions. We had to get with the director of each department and try to get these questions answered. We had people came and speak to us over the, 3-4 month period. So again, I'll stop talking and I'll let somebody else come to the podium. Thank you all, and sit back and understand things, because knowledge is what? Power. So you need the knowledge to make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I think you pretty much covered it all. So, my name is Stuart Brough. I am on the Protect the City Committee, and specifically, I, along with Tina and Roddy, am on the report drafting committee. So we did a lot of the work to put the report together based on what we've learned over our term as committee members. Why was the committee formed? Pat touched on this a little bit. We were formed to engage in an open public... Oh, I'm sorry. An open, public, transparent discussion of the city's continuing problems with our consolidated form of government. So that's part of why we're here today, because this is not supposed to be a closed process. We want to engage the public as much as we can, and we look forward to hearing your feedback once we get through the presentation. I think and the councilman can correct me if I'm wrong, but the real impetus for the committee was when the budget was rolled out and it was shown that the rec centers, particularly on this side of town, were not being funded. The city council found itself without a mechanism to put that money back in the budget, because the parish council was able to have a say on that as well. And that led to a process or a continuing kind of dispute and frustration by the city council, which ultimately led to the creation of our committee. So, as Councilman Lewis noted, we were given 14 specific questions to answer in our report. Those are not exclusive, but we mainly stuck to those questions because they were pretty comprehensive. This is just to show you that we were all obviously picked on our looks.
Young looks.
Yeah, and the gentleman, Bill Leyendecker, his picture is not here, but he does exist, and that's his beautiful face in person. So what have we done so far? We have had over 30 hours of public meetings where we've heard from current and former city and parish councilmen. We have heard from Laurie Toops, the chief financial officer for LCG. We've heard from LCG's auditors, their cost allocation consultants. We've heard from members of former charter commissions and other civic leaders and members of the public. All of our meetings have been open meetings. We are a transparent body. And so with all of that, and including other written materials we were given and shared amongst ourselves, we came up with what is now a 28-page report. And we'll give you the link to get to that at the end of the meeting. Now we're going around trying to get input on the report and our conclusions, and ultimately, probably in mid to late July, we aim to have a final report that we submit to the City Council. This is the second town hall I think that we've had. There will be 2 town halls tomorrow night with the 2 of the other City Council members, and then on Monday there will be another town hall at the Acadiana Center for the Arts downtown. And of course, you're all encouraged to show up and continue to learn about this important issue. So, what did the committee conclude? The committee believes that consolidation is unfair to the city and that the city would best be served by deconsolidation. Can y'all see the screen? Is the light too bright? So again, our conclusion was that the consolidation is unfair to the city, and the city would be best served by deconsolidation. Both the city and the parish each deserve a government that is directly accountable to its citizens, a government that does not serve 2 masters, and a government that reflects the fundamental American principles of Republican democracy and self-governance. I think it's important to note here, because there are people who have said that this is a divisive process, that this puts the city against the parish or vice versa, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. First, we've learned that consolidation really, in a lot of ways, has hampered the parish as much as it's hampered the city. And we're all parish residents. We all have an interest in the parish flourishing along with the city. But it's not divisive in and of itself for city citizens to stand up for themselves and say, we don't believe this form of government is fair, and we want to work to arrive at a fair system of government. So we're not trying to be divisive or say that anybody is intentionally trying to undermine our well-being, but the structural system of government we have simply isn't fair. So consolidated government, the first effort at consolidation occurred in the 1970s. There was an attempt to consolidate all of the municipalities with the parish, which failed. The effort continued, but the people behind consolidation understood that they would never get consolidation with the other municipalities. They were never going to sign on. So ultimately, in 1990, a charter commission was appointed and recommended consolidation of the city and parish of Lafayette. That went to a vote of the people. It passed by 60%. Actually, the city voting yes, a majority of the city voting yes, and a majority of the entire parish population voting, I think, 49% in favor. So a majority of the parish was actually not in favor of consolidation. In 2010, after some issues with consolidation first came to the fore, a charter commission was called. The issues there were governance of LUS. Originally, LUS under the charter was supposed to be governed by 5 city parish council members who came from majority city districts. But because every single city parish council member had somebody that lived in the city within their district, it was determined that in order to be legally safe, that the entire council would vote on LPUA matters, LUS matters as well. And around this time, a vote came up, and it looked like the LPUA had voted yes for something, and the entire council was going to vote no, which undermine the government or the city authority over LUS. The other issue was the parish population as a whole, or the city of Lafayette's portion of the parish population as a whole declining, resulting in what people thought you might have 5 council members who, a majority of which were not from the city. Ultimately, they proposed deconsolidation. It failed, 63 to 37. A subsequent attempt at calling a charter commission to look at things less than deconsolidation never got off the ground. Then in 2018, as Pat mentioned, we did pass amendments to our charter, which split the city parish council into separate city and parish councils, and also had some protections for LUS. But of course, that, as we have experienced, has not necessarily resolved the concerns of those who want greater autonomy and self-representation of the city. So this is a very important statistic for everybody to understand. If you look in 1996, the population of Lafayette was 114,953, and vastly outnumbered any other municipality in the parish, and all the municipalities combined, including the unincorporated area. If you look at the percent change from 1996 to 2019, you can see the Youngsville grew by 400%, Broussard by 150%, Caron grew by over 60%, the unincorporated areas grew by over 60%, Scott grew by over a quarter, and even Dusson outgrew the city of Lafayette, which came in last place if you're looking at population growth. So when you look at that as a whole, you see that Lafayette, which is the dark blue on this pie chart, made up 63.4% of the parish in 1996. Now we are at 51.6% of the population as of 2019, currently awaiting the official census results. And if that trend holds, then a majority of the people living in the parish will live outside of the city of Lafayette and will be able to vote for, and the majority of the people voting for the city of Lafayette's mayor will live outside of the city of Lafayette. So before we get into the committee's conclusions, I think it's important to understand what consolidation is and isn't, because there's a lot of misinformation, or it's just a very confusing form of government. What consolidation did was took the city and the parish and said the functions of these governments are going to be consolidated. The charter specifically says that the city of Lafayette continues to exist. It specifically says that the parish of Lafayette continues to exist. They have separate budgets, separate taxes, they have separate assets, and separate responsibilities. The only difference is now we have a third entity, LCG, which manages the combined efforts of both the city and the parish. So we're not truly a consolidated government in the true sense of the word. So, why deconsolidation? Because we lack the autonomy that every other city in this parish has, and none of which seem to be too eager to give up. We have a mayor who is, as mentioned, is elected by the entirety of the parish. And while every other city in this parish has its own mayor, and while most every city in America has its own mayor, our mayor serves two masters, the city and the parish. As noted, soon a majority of the people who live in the parish, if population trends hold, will reside outside of the city of Lafayette. Our mayor will be decided by, it's already decided in part by voters outside of the city. But a majority of the people who vote for the mayor of Lafayette will live outside of the city, which is frightening in the sense of, a representative government. As Councilman Lewis noted, also, people who don't live inside the city, they don't pay the same taxes that we pay, they don't pay the city taxes, and yet they still get to vote for the mayor of Lafayette. In addition, as we've gone through a lot of the data, we've come to conclude that the city is subsidizing the operations of consolidated government on behalf of the parish. There are cost allocations that say, well, the city is going to pay 80% of the costs of the mayor's office, or the mayor president's office, and the parish is going to pay 20%. And those have fluctuated over the years. At one point during Mayor President Durrell's administration, it was down to 54. Before that, it was 80. Now it's back to 80. And ultimately, because LCG represents the city and the parish, their goal is to make sure that neither the city or the parish have a deficit. And in order to ensure that that happens, not to say that anything illegal is going on, but in order to make sure that happens, monies from the city and through this allocation method are used to prop up the parish's shortfall. Additionally, we've noted that city funds are used for capital projects. The city pays for equipment, which is used by the parish. And as recently as last month, $3.85 million of city money was allocated to fund drainage improvements located outside of the city, and which I think some of which were outside of the parish. And we've also had concerns that the time that employees spend on city versus parish matters is not tracked. And I think at this point, because we have two members of our finance committee here, Mr. Tad Catalon and Mr. Bill Lindecker, I will offer the floor because you probably have some better detail in that regard.
Okay, my name is Bill Lindecker, and I was on the Finance Subcommittee, and we were able to have one meeting with the Drainage Department. Mr. Catalon, Mark Pope, and I. Mr. Pope sent the questions to the Drainage Department beforehand, and then we met with two directors and the LCG CAO. And I guess to make it as brief as I can, we started talking about, the different funds that went into funding the Drainage Department and the different functions of the Drainage Department. And so anyway, we came up with a 2.5 or so page report. And just to highlight some of the things that I think that you need to know, we were told that 60% of the drainage complaints came from within the city, and that 40% of the drainage complaints came from outside the city. Well, 60-40 doesn't mean that much to me. We were also told that there were lots of duplicate complaints. So for example, every person up here could have been complaining about the same drainage problem. Okay, so the 60-40, the numbers, didn't really work for me. It's also important to know that, okay, wait.
Come out to the center stage.
Oh, come out to the center. Okay, I'm sorry. My fault. Okay. All right. So anyway, 60-40, but some of those things were duplicates. So we needed to get a better number than that. It's also important to remember that a drainage project somewhere can cost significantly more than a drainage project somewhere else. So for example, 10 drainage projects in the city could cost the same as one drainage project in the parish. So we need a little bit more information about that. Another thing that was important for you to know is that the drainage department was unable to provide or verify work orders for any specific project. I'm not sure why that was, but that's what we were told. The drainage department does not, cannot track the movement and use of employees, vehicles, equipment, or materials used to complete projects within or outside the city of Lafayette city limits. So basically what happens is there's a project, a group of workers are sent, some equipment, some vehicles, some materials, and they just do the job. Okay, so that was a little concerning to some of the members of the finance subcommittee. Now it's also important to note that Fund 401 is a Lafayette City sales tax fund, and $800,000, a little bit more than that, was allocated to the drainage department in this year's budget. Well, the drainage department stated that the department does not differentiate between equipment or materials. So in other words, the city of Lafayette could have paid for this bulldozer, this particular excavator, these materials, but it's not necessarily used in the city of Lafayette. It could be used anywhere. The drainage department, again, does not track the movement of purchases from Fund 401. Fund 401, city sales tax. Okay? Purchases are used as needed, where needed. So that's just kind of the highlights, at least for me, and I think for Mr. Catalon also, of the drainage department meeting that we had.
Thank you, Bill. I would like to add that our report at this time is inconclusive. We have only researched and studied the drainage department. There is roads and bridges, and there are other aspects of the budget that we did not study yet. And the reason for that is because the administration is slow in providing the data that we need to make a conclusive report. So, with Bill's presentation and the research that is left to do, I feel by the time we get to a final report, we will have all financial information that is necessary to show that the city of Lafayette is carrying the burden of the parish and the city. I would like to also say at this time that when I came to this committee, I was asked by Councilman LUS to serve, and I told Councilman LUS, I said, I'll serve under one condition, and that condition is that I'm coming to this committee with an open mind. That means I'm not for consolidation, I'm not for deconsolidation. During the research and study, I have concluded, and it is my belief, in fact, I'm a firm believer, that we as taxpayers are getting the short end of the stick. You've heard reports earlier in the introduction and Sturge's report of the municipalities that surround Lafayette. Lafayette Parish consists of 6 municipalities. Lafayette is the largest. There is Broussard, Carencro, Youngsville, Scott, and Dusson. These smaller municipalities have their own mayor who's elected by the citizens of that municipality. They have their own city council. The city of Lafayette does not. When consolidation formed, it formed with the principle that the parish would maintain its status as the governing body, and the city of Lafayette would maintain its status as the governing body. They created consolidation, which is the third person involved. It exists only in concept. And what has happened, they brought to the voters this idea of everybody voting for a city parish president. Well, it is my belief that after the research and study that we've done thus far, the city of Lafayette is being run by a parish president and not a mayor. The title mayor president is only a title, if you will, a smokescreen. This city is being run by a parish president. In its inception, in 1992, from the speakers that we heard from, who at the time were politicians and elected officials, they conveyed to us that when the Home Rule Charter brought to the legislature this idea of consolidation, all municipalities within Lafayette Parish was asked, did they want to be a part of consolidation? The 5 smaller municipalities said no from the inception. We will own our own form of government. The city of Lafayette was not given the choice. We were forced into consolidation and led by a parish president and not a mayor. So I think at this time it's safe to say that we do need a mayor for the city of Lafayette, being that we are the largest municipality within Lafayette Parish. We need to take control of our budget. We do not want to leave our friends out in the unincorporated areas and the other smaller municipalities. Perhaps that the concept that the parish is broke, it is my understanding that most of the work that is being done is out in the unincorporated areas. These smaller municipalities have said, we're not going to help you unincorporated areas because we do not have an incentive. We will not receive nothing from helping you. Go to the city of Lafayette and they will. That's unfair. Why can't we have an agreement that all municipalities participate in whatever the problem is? If it's replacing the bridge, if it's dredging the coulee, if it's out in the unincorporated area that needs road repair, why can't we form intergovernmental agreements where all municipalities participate? This is what this committee is about. On Sturge's draft and the drafting committee, which Tina was a part of, the vote was 5-1. We had one dissenting vote. As I move about the town and talk with different people tell me that they are ready for deconsolidation, and consolidation never should have happened. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know if it was just the finance committee was talking or if it was my turn. But not to repeat everything that Mr. Catalon and what Mr. Linedecker has said, but consolidation has not been fair to the city of Lafayette, nor has it been fair to the north side, District 1 and District 2. And when you look at, from my perspective, I'm looking at the quality of life of our community, right? The quality of life within the city of Lafayette has decreased tremendously since consolidation. In part because our tax dollars are not being spent where we need them to be spent, to make sure that we're keeping the tax base that's needed and the people in our community that's needed to make sure that we can build what's needed here. So one of the things that definitely step out to me is, although we did, Mr. Kellen was correct, we did not receive all of the information that we requested from the administration. So we had to make some assumptions. And being a former city employee, having worked in planning and in drainage, I know for a fact that most of our work happens out in the parish. I didn't get many calls or requests for services in the city of Lafayette. So based on that assumption for myself, that means that most development is happening out in the parish. Most of that is not happening in the city of Lafayette, and in particular, in Districts 1 and District 5. And how do we secure those things for our community? And then when you look further at what our administration is currently happening, where we're now consolidating our community development and our planning department, that means that CBDG dollars that are coming into our community development department that should be used for Districts 1 and District 5 and other low-income, limited transportation, low everything communities could be sent to other places in the parish because they check the box for minority and not really being used in our community where it's needed to continue development and continue Lafayette, the city of Lafayette, being the anchor for the parish and the bright star for Acadiana. At least that's what we were told, right? So for me, as I said, quality of life has been diminished. We need to make sure that the city of Lafayette gets all of its autonomy back, that we're able to make decisions over the departments that we are able to make decisions over. That means LUS, Community Development, Planning Department. There's certain things that the city of Lafayette needs and the parish also needs as well, but we don't have to duplicate. There's ways that we can work things out. And I know this isn't the task of this committee to figure those things out just yet, but we definitely need to be having these conversations as a community as far as where we want to go with development within our community and what we want the city of Lafayette to look like as a part of the parish. We all are parish residents, but the city of Lafayette just really wants to be able to make its own decisions and control its destiny. And I think that's really important in what this committee has been set out to do. And I think that this report really kind of sets out a really good guideline, at least, of what we've heard and what we've learned so far. As Mr. Calhoun said, we still have a lot to learn. There's still a lot that hasn't been received. But I think with you all's feedback today, I think we'll be able to really show up a good report that we'll be able to present to the City Council and hopefully be able to move this forward. Thank you.
So, to finish this up real quick and get to question and answers, I wanted everybody to see this quote from Mayor President Durrell in his 2013-2014 budget message to the council. He said, millions of dollars have leaked into parish government, causing the city to build less infrastructure, hire fewer firemen, policemen, public works employees, as well as other personnel needed to provide for the needs of our community. So that's the Mayor President of the city and parish of Lafayette saying that in 2013. The committee had several other recommendations that, of course, the primary recommendation is deconsolidation, but also looking to create separate budgets so that we can track our city money more, we can better track that money. We need to take back control of LUS Fiber, the director appointments, and no longer allow unlimited interim appointments, or unlimited terms for interim appointments, having intergovernmental agreements for the city and parish. We've talked about community, citizen panels, advisory panels for LUS, and also asked that if a charter commission is established, that it look at whether we should elect our police chief in the city. So what's next? We have these town halls. I think we have a June 22nd meeting, which will be in the evening, where you're all invited to come and provide further input. We are going to probably produce this final report in late July. Once that report is delivered to the city council, it is up to the city council and the parish council whether to call a charter commission. It would require the vote of both bodies. Alternatively, if a charter commission is not called by the city and parish council, under the Constitution, a charter commission can be called with a petition signed by 10,000 residents of Lafayette Parish, which is a relatively low threshold. So, and after a charter commission would be held, then ultimately the decision would then lie with the voters of the city and the parish as a whole. This is just where you can find the report. It's available on LafayetteLA.gov under the City Council page. If you scroll down, You'll find a link to the report. And also, if you want to email the committee with questions or comments or compliments, you can email us at ptccommittee@lafayettela.gov. And with that, we will turn over the mic to you all.
Thank you, Stuart, and other members of the committee for your tireless effort in putting this report together and collecting all the information that you took the time to collect. We really appreciate it. At this time, we will have comments from the public and questions and answers. After that, myself and Councilman Lewis will have some closing comments, and then we'll let the committee continue with its work. Joseph.
Our first speaker tonight is Andrew Duyum. He'll be followed by Mitzi Duyum.
My name is Andrew Duyum, and I retired from LUS in 2017 after working there for 30 years. I understand how important LUS is to the success of the city, and that's my purpose for speaking today. It's to continue to assert that we must not allow our citizen-owned... What's the feedback? Is it that? Stop. I want to just use that one. I can go up there if you like. He's giving me the feedback. Which one? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Is that better? Okay. Where should I stand? Okay, I'll just stand here. Anyway, I hope you heard most of what I said already. But I retired from LUS in 2017, and I worked there for 30 years. So I understand how important that LUS is to the success of the city, and that's my purpose for speaking today, to continue to assert that we must not allow our citizen-owned utility to be compromised because of the way that it's presently governed. I want to thank the PTC for the work they've done to determine if Lafayette is getting a fair shake from consolidation. Clearly it's not. I'm a supporter of deconsolidation because consolidation to me is patently unfair to residents of the city of Lafayette. We should assist the parish as we can, but don't give away the farm as they are doing now with the current allocation formula. If we went back to separate governments, let's say a city and a parish government, economies could still be realized. For example, Lafayette could supply the parish with low-cost admin services through the departments that they already have. Let the parish enter into intergovernmental agreements with the city of Lafayette for those services. It'd be a far better deal than the parish could obtain by trying to set up its own IT department, its own finance or risk management functions. A present-day example of this actually exists, where the parish is obtaining services from the city and it works. Lafayette's customer-owned utility system, LUS, it sells wholesale water to Youngsville, Broussard, and Scott, among others. It seems to work well, but it also illustrates a conflict of interest. Page 26 of the draft report quotes the Apostle Matthew, "No man can serve two masters." So here's the example. Suppose that the mayor president is not from Lafayette, lives in one of those towns I was speaking of, and they contract for wholesale water. By the way, those contracts all have provisions to recalculate rates every 2 years. And suppose the contracting city opposes the rate that LUS suggests. Remember, the mayor president lives in the city receiving the LUS water and probably wants the lower rate possible for him and his neighbors. It's only natural. But the LUS director also interested in him. Can you see the inherent conflict of interest? So I want to end by saying that I suggest, or I ask, that the committee and the drafting committee perhaps consider putting a concrete example like this in their report. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and you know how I feel.
Ms. Mitzi Moss Dillon.
Hey, I can see you now. I said this at another meeting, and I'm going to say it again because to me it deserves to be heard by as many people as possible. For years I've worked on community committees, and unfortunately many of the final drafts get put on the shelf due to changes of administration, changes of council, changes of people's lives and all. This is so important that I first thank you for your work to date, but it is so important to make sure that this work continues on no matter how far it goes until it gets done. Because if you ever watch council meetings, you'll see that oftentimes it's not the city council that has the biggest influence on a decision that affects us in the city. And that is my biggest concern, is that our taxes and our representation just is not in full force with this current government. And to me, it's broken. And I just think it needs to be fixed. And I don't think we should give up. I think it can be compromised in many ways, so it can be equitable. But I do believe that we need to do something. So I applaud you, and I thank you for your service.
The next speaker is Narika Ross, and she'll be followed by Mr. Wayne Coleman.
Good evening. My name is Narika Ross, and I'm representing United Ballot. I have a prepared statement and ask these comments be entered into the record. To protect the city, Honorable Councilman Patrick Lewis, Honorable Councilman Glenn Lazar, we would like to commend the Fix the Charter Committee for getting the community to this point regarding deconsolidation. The City Council has the power to positively affect our future. The current council of the City of Lafayette has 2 majority-minority districts, which represent the current demographic makeup of the City of Lafayette. We inform City Council for initiating the next step, and in this atrocious initiative, we offer the following comments. We support the establishment of a deconsolidation commission. Second, we propose the representation of the future City Council be representative of the current demographics in the City of Lafayette. We recommend the City Council membership remain a 5 members with 2 majority-minority districts. Third, if it is determined the size of the council should increase to 7 members, we recommend a 3rd majority-minority member be added to ensure the maintenance of the current demographic representation of local government in the City of Lafayette. Fourth, we further comment any increase in the size of the council be revenue neutral by keeping the current salary line item identified in the budget. Fifth, the commission be established to have an earnest public discourse by having 1 person, 1 vote to ensure fairness and equity for all. Citizens in the City of Lafayette, unincorporated area of the parish and the entirety of Lafayette Parish. 6, the makeup of the Charter Commission be demographically and geographically diverse. 7, the Charter Commission be charged with ensuring the expenditures of tax dollars be controlled and spent in the jurisdiction in which it is collected. Thank you for giving the public the opportunity to share our support, concerns, and comments. We trust you will work expeditiously on this important matter to the citizens in the City of Lafayette, unincorporated area of the parish, and Lafayette Parish as a whole. United Ballot, the PAC you know and trust since 1992. Thank you.
Wayne Colvin, and he'll be followed by Keith Falk.
Good evening, and I'd just like to say, be careful what you ask for, because you may get it and not sure what you're gonna get. Look at the Lafayette area, Lafayette Parish. Look at Louisiana. What has been the growth of the population in Louisiana since '96? Anybody know? It's grown about 0.25%. The last 4 years, the population has shrunk. What has happened in Lafayette Parish? We've grown 13%. A steady growth in the last 2 years. So Lafayette Parish must be doing something right. You know, businesses, residences are increasing. And think about when businesses want to come to a new location, as many of them are moving. When they want to come to an area, they may say, okay, well, let's go see what the tax structure. Now, if they call it and they say, well, we want to locate here, wait a second, let's see, where you want to locate it? Well, that's not the city, that's the parish, or that's Carencro, you got to go talk to. You know, you want to talk to one administration that can kind of give you some general guidelines on how this thing should be handled, and where you could go and some of the procedures to follow, you know. And you want a good, stable population, good school system and all that. So I think Lafayette's doing something right, and we ought to appreciate that. Now, one of the things that has happened during all this annexation, as they showed on some of these things, because I've had the chance to read this 28-page draft report, is, yes, these areas have grown in population and have grown in acreage. But what they didn't show is the unincorporated area that has shrunk in acreage, because that was the only place that these areas could grow. And where did they grow? In the commercial areas. And they left big void areas all over the place. For example, right here in this area, there's a large area north of West Fontaine Mouton Road, west of Northwest Evangeline Thruway, east of Veterinary Road, and south of West Butcher Switch Road. Big block right there, that's the parish, surrounded by the city. Now, so the parish got to take care of that, and the city said, well, we don't want any part of it because it doesn't bring us any benefits. Another example in this area, south of East Gloria Switch Road, west of I-10, halfway down to East Butcher Switch Road, big vacant area. And there's all kind of little areas scattered all over this area. And I mention those because you people from this area might be familiar with those. And how bad this gets. You gotta go look at the map, and you gotta blow it up, because the map is really hard to read. But look how many vacant areas they have. Is that not right, Councilman? How many vacant areas we got all over the parish?
We have a good bit of vacant areas, but you need to also mention that some of these people may, in the unincorporated areas, maybe never grew, about they were annexed going into another city. So when you talk about the facts, what's really going on, not just your observation.
Look along Johnson towards Maurice. What has been annexed is right along Johnson Street where the commercial businesses are, so they can get sales taxes, you know. Do they go more than a quarter of a mile past the road? No. All that is unincorporated. You've got another area further down here that's bordered by Scott city limits, Lafayette city limits, and then you got an island in there for the unincorporated area. A lot of these vacant areas are politics, you know. One of the politics involved in it, we heard a lot about LUS, and I'll get to them later. But there's kind of an underwriting thing when you incorporate that into the city. LUS has a responsibility to serve that area, and that may not be something that they really want to do because generally it doesn't have much people or much commercial there to justify an investment in that area. So maybe the city is reluctant to invest in that. Now, on page 6 in the draft report, we heard a lot about what the city does and supporting, you know, the rest of the parish. But hear this. This is what's in their draft report. Under Louisiana law, the parish alone is responsible for providing a suitable courthouse and jail. It must also provide for the operation of certain parish office buildings, among others, clerk of court, sheriff, tax assessor, district attorney, and coroner. Now, you know, we've all used some of those services somewhere along the way, you know, and that's city people using those, and then we say it's, well, that's under the state statute like that. That's part of the nuance of bringing these areas together, and that's some of the things I think that really need to be worked on rather than saying, well, it's not working. We've got to adjust some of those to say, okay, how can they work best for the overall community, because we know we share a lot of services. You know, further in there says you got to be responsible for drainage. Now, we all know drainage works both ways. It goes all over the parish, all over the city, goes from one area to the next. Look at Cooley Mean.
Mr. Colbert, your time, we don't have really specific time, but we run out of time. Can you make it short? Because
Okay,
we have
all right. Let me wrap it up in a couple of minutes, please.
Not a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds, because we have other speakers.
All right. And there's other areas like LUS that we got to tweak that charter such that, yeah, the city can control all of that. LUPA, you know, that's a public authority. Yeah, incorporate that. So I think it needs to be tweaked, and we really got to consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next speaker, we're trying to shut this down, and we have to close it by 7 o'clock. So y'all, if y'all can make y'all comments pretty quickly, and because we want to try to get to everyone, because I know people want to hear other comments. Keep about 3 minutes, please.
Keith Falk, a concerned community activist. I want to thank Mr. Councilman Lewis, Councilman Lazar, the committee for allowing me this opportunity to speak. Now, I studied the different 3 forms of government and the charter we had before. The first charter, it was working right for the city. The parish one was working right for the parish. The second one, they push it in with a mistake. The third one, they push it in with another mistake. So the only way to solve the problem is to get rid of the whole charter. Not just amend it, get rid of the whole charter. And bring in 2 separate charter commissions, a charter commission for the parish, a charter commission for the city, and let that city charter commission decide the government the city should have, and let that parish charter commission decide the government the parish should have. Then all the politics stay out of it, and the charter commission do their job and give us the type of government we want and the type of government we need. Because we all know this current form of government is just straight unfair.
We have a citizen rather who did not wish to speak, but poses 2 questions to the committee and the council members. The first question is, the city and unincorporated parts of the parish are governed by the Unified Development Code, now the Lafayette Development Code. Each municipality has its own version. Has the committee and council thought of how development will look after deconsolidation?
It probably won't look very different from how it exists now, because although there is a Lafayette Development Code, the zoning only exists within the city, and there are separate city planning and zoning commission and parish planning and zoning commission. The parish development regulations are in a lot of ways different from what the cities are, and so there would not be too much in the way of change in terms of your planning and zoning regulations.
And the second question is, after hearing the financial report at last night's council meeting, has the report changed any position of the committee or the council members? Sure. Repeating it, after hearing the financial report at last night's council meeting from the auditors, has the report changed, the draft report, has it changed any position of the council members or the committee members?
Well, I don't think it has changed, because remember, it was last night that the auditors came by and give out a report. So this draft was drafted, I think, over a week ago. So anything that's affecting the budget as far as the city council or the parish council, they would have to take that into effect to see if it would change. But I don't think it would change anything from what we heard, because I was there last night. From what I heard, it shouldn't have been that much changes. Remember, we, as far as the committee members and myself, we do not want to do anything that would hinder the parishes in any way. We want to make sure that the city and the parish gets its own fair share, but the way it seems as though that Lafayette is not. But again, that's a few of us our opinion. You guys have your own opinion. But to answer that question, as of right now, it has not changed, because I don't think the committee members have got together. Because the council members that heard all this last night, not the committee members unless they were looking at it on television, on AOC. So I don't think it has changed, but you can ask the finance committee if they got together from what they heard, if they heard anything as of last night. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does. But again, we run it kind of short. We have a few more questions that are comments. But if you all really want to be engaged like you guys are, we have other meetings. They have a meeting tomorrow. You can look at it on AOC. They have a meeting next week sometime. And they also have another meeting at ACA on Monday. There's 2 meetings tomorrow. One at the library, the South Library off of John Street, I believe it is. And they also have one at Robichaud Center. So we just want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak, to get their comments heard, and to ask the questions so they can make the intelligent, right decision when it comes up to deconsolidate or leave it as is. And this is very important. But again, if there's any other speakers that would like to say something, or as far as comments or questions, we have about another 5 minutes or so. Please come up. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed, because you need to be heard. Don't be scared. I'm not going to run you off. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks.
Butch Duprey. I'm a resident of Patrick's district. Thank you guys for the effort, and the committee as well. I'm just interested in do we know that the taxpayers would actually save money through the effort? Just a question for the committee. Would you save money by the plan?
That question is a good question. I'm sure that when people really probably had not thought about this. But remember, when they consolidated, in 92, I believe it is, we were supposed to save a lot of money by consolidating. And we did not save all these funding money that we talked about. So for us to give you an answer, I'm sure we're looking at it. We just want to make sure that you won't pay more than you're paying. Okay, more than you are paying. Again, the city of Lafayette is helping out the unincorporated area. With that being said, perhaps we will save some money just by not helping the unincorporated areas. So as far as putting statistics to it and saying we're going to save X amount of dollars because of that, I don't think we finalized that. But remember, LUS is what people call a cash cow for the city of Lafayette. So we have money. Lafayette, the citizens of Lafayette have money. We really do. Now, LUS money is not being spent outside of the city limits, from what I'm told. Again, from what I am told. Listen to me correctly. What I am told. The city of Lafayette money is perhaps not going out the city of Lafayette. But then you have some people saying it is. So that's what we're trying to find out. So to answer your question, we have to do a lot more digging. Again, this is a committee, and we're asking you guys to help us put this together so we can start a commission. And then once we start the commission, then we can really get down into all this information, because that way the parish will be involved in it, the city will be involved in it, and then we all, as collective, the city, the parish, will make the right decision for our voters and our taxpayers. And that's what it's all about. This is really a question and answer situation that we have, not a situation, but committee. We need you guys' help, and we will be needing the parish help, because I know there's a few parish people in here. So again, if you're a parish person, knock the doors, call your parish councilman, and say, hey, y'all need to help put this on the ballot, because it can be said that the parish will benefit from it and the city will benefit from it, not just the city. Parish residents, taxpayers need to benefit from it as well. And from what we understand right now, the parish is not benefited as well.
One quick question. Is the current operation of the city parish government, are they violating the current charter by doing some of the activities outside the city of Lafayette? In other words, is that part of the problem? If so, would that be addressed?
Everything like your comment that you bring to us, somebody's writing it down, and we're going to address everything. So that's why it's important for people to be really engaged. I must say that again, engaged in the process. Everything is a process. So if you want to make sure everything is being fair, wherever you live, be engaged. So again, I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We have Joe, can you bring the mic to? We have another committee member that has been sitting in the back, and he's going to come up and give a few comments. He is Roddy Bergeron. Yes, his picture was up there.
So Roddy Bergeron, Protect the City Committee, just to answer your question about whether or not this is going to save money, this is more about a priority issue, right? Like, if our report shows that the city has been subsidizing $5 million a year into the parish budget, what can we be doing for the city with that $5 million? We have, a $40 million road backlog. Yep. We got parks and rec that need to be funded, all these other things that need to be funded. So it's not so much as a savings, but more of a, can we prioritize things in the city with that money? And that's what we need to focus more on. I don't think there would be an actual savings, but a priority issue that we can do for better prioritization. And I want to take a few seconds just to say that, like, when we have this kind of discussion, it's not a us versus them argument. It's not a city versus parish argument. This is us, the city residents, asking how do we want to be governed. And I believe most people believe that we want to be governed by a city mayor. We want to be governed more by a city. We don't want to turn our backs on the parish, right? Like, we are parish residents. We want to make sure we have a strong parish as well. So this whole, if anybody says you're a city resident and you don't care about the parish, this is not an argument that we want to have. We want to be equitable towards the parish and make sure that they come out of this on the right side too. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Someone else want to speak, please? Yes, sir. Come on, please. Get the mic. Joe, right
here. Just a brief question and comment. As I sit down here listening to the positions in terms of de-escalation consolidation or deconsolidation, I'm chuckling to myself as a black person in the community who lived in a city that has been disenfranchised. Our tax dollars are being misused and exploited. the question for me as a black person is that which governmental system disenfranchises less? I don't see any form of what's been presented is actually going to address the issues or the concerns of the black community. So I get the impression that this is the discussion to decide how to best manage a white reality while we being totally disenfranchised anyway. The issue that you're bringing up basically lies in the area of misrepresentation or taxation without representation. We have that issue. We are being culturally, politically, economically exploited and have been on the vote systems. So why must black people get so excited and become a cheerleader for either system? We need fair representation in the city government regardless of what system you use. Because we have no stake in the manner in which things are done regardless of what system of government you have chosen. So I'm sitting here chuckling. What are we doing? Thank you.
Any more comments? Yes, sir. Question.
Gary Mirabo, property owner, Lafayette Parish, City of Lafayette. All right, but anyway, the question is, so as a City of Lafayette property owner, I pay a city tax and I pay parish tax. Karen Crow, do you pay the same, the city and the parish?
Yes.
You do a city, there's a city? No. Youngsville, you pay a city and a parish?
If you live in the city of Cancun, you pay city tax in Cancun, you pay parish tax.
I understand not from that, but you don't have a parish tax and city tax, or do you? I'm trying to understand.
If you live in the city of Cancun, you pay city tax in
There's-
Cancun.
So there's the
And
city
you also
property
pay
tax?
parish tax.
Okay, that was my
So
question.
because everyone in the parish.
So every municipality,
Every Lafayette parish, the only one that do not pay city tax if you live in unincorporated areas. That's it. But if you live in blue zone, all those municipalities, you pay city tax to the municipality you live in.
That money stays in Cameron.
Huh?
That money stays in Cameron.
Oh yeah, the money stays in Cancun, because the money in Lafayette stays in Lafayette. The money in Youngsville stays in Youngsville. So in other words, if you live in whatever municipality, live out of the 6 municipalities, the city tax, property tax, city taxes stays in that municipality.
What about the parish tax?
The parish tax, because in the parish district, only the property taxes comes to the whole, everybody lives in the parish tax. Only, that's why you have parish tax, when you pay property tax to the parish, because everyone lives in the parish of Lafayette. Lafayette Parish, everyone lives in the parish. So you can, when you, at the end of the year, you pay parish tax, that's for everything in the parish. But if you live in the city, whatever municipality, you only pay city tax to that municipality you live in, and it stays in that city. Except which one? Broussard. Yes, sir. Well, we have about one more. Yes, sir. Come on. Come on now.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Granger. I've been a citizen of Lafayette all my life. And the first thing I want to do is thank the committee, because you bring a lot of information to the city and to the constituents. First of all is, years ago when we had a parish, police bureau, and our city, it all goes back to one thing. How is the money being used? That's when the parish bellied up, and then all of this consolidated government started. Okay? Lafayette is on the verge. We busting loose at the seams right now. All the surrounding municipalities, they growing. Okay? If we're gonna be the backbone of Lafayette Parish, and we're not gonna get some of these city taxes, How will we recuperate and withstand what's happening today? Okay? I believe in the deconsolidation. Seriously. But it all goes back to how is it going to be run. Earlier in the conversation, it was stated that the gentleman asked the drainage director how was his funds being used, and he didn't have a record. I don't understand it. This is a business. Okay? You run a government like a business the same way we run our household. We should know where our tax dollars are going and how they're being used. Seriously. But I'm behind y'all on deconsolidation.
Thank you again. Appreciate all the comments, and again, I'll say that for the third time. I'm sorry. Brian, you have something? You can. Yeah, if you like to again. Yeah. There's another parish councilman, so I want him to.
Parish Councilman Brian Faber. I just want to say I want to thank Pat and Glenn for inviting me here. It was very enlightening. I learned a lot. I agree. I think every other municipality has a mayor. You know, I don't see why y'all shouldn't. But my thought is how are we going to do it? I mean, I know we're not going to throw the parish out, but I'm definitely going to work with y'all. Again, I can't believe what the man just mentioned. I own a business. When I ran my business, I tracked everything. I tracked when, you know, you can't measure anything if you don't track it. So that's something we need to definitely look at. But I just want to say I want to do everything in my power to work. When I got on the council, I told Liz, and I don't know if I mentioned to y'all, but I want to work to make it right, to make it fair for everybody. So thank y'all again for inviting me, and see y'all.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. But I just want everybody to understand that all your concerns you have, I don't care what your concerns are, be engaged. If you feel that you're not being represented like you should be engaged. That's it. That's all we have to say. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.